What's going on, guys? National Master James Canty III here, and today we're looking at another world champion. It's going to be a battle. We're looking at the 5th world champion, Max Euwe, versus Alexander Alekhine. Let's get right into it, guys. We're using the Forward Chess app, so you guys can download this and use it on your own computer or even your phone and stuff like that. So I'll leave a link to it right under the video, guys. Let's get right into it. Here we go. Max Euwe, the 5th world champion, versus Alexander Alekhine, which we've seen Alekhine play in the last video. Now we're going to look at Max play Alekhine, and he ended up beating him to become the 5th world champion. So let's check this game out right here. This is actually the 14th game of the World Championship match in Holland in 1935. White was Max Euwe, and Alekhine played black. Let's see it, guys. Here we go. D4, start here. D4, knight f6, C4 and G6. Knight c3 and d5, and here we go, Grunfeld. I've actually tried this myself with the black pieces. It is a difficult opening to play. It's active. You are giving up the center so that you can attack it later, especially if they take it. And I've only played this over the board once, and I had a drawn position, but I tried to push for more. I ended up losing the game. It was maybe like 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago, something like that. But I just didn't like the position too much. I studied it a lot, but I play the King's Indian now. So let's see what happened here in this Grunfeld. Bishop to f4 and then knight h5, question mark. Best move was actually just bishop to g7, which is here. That's probably what I would have did too. I mean, I remember playing the Grunfeld before. You just want to stay consistent. Bishop g7 is a move. Knight h5 is just weird. I mean, it is Alekhine. Okay, he can do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants, because he has done it, right? But knight to h5 is just you're kind of breaking the rule here, moving a piece twice out the opening. This bishop has to move. So let's see if he goes like bishop e5 or something. That's exactly what he played. Bishop e5. I like this move, and the reason why, guys, is you want to provoke weaknesses. I remember playing an international master. I ended up winning the game back in 2015, and it was something similar to this, where he played knight h5 and I put my bishop on g5. I could have went back to e3. I could have went back to anywhere, like in this kind of sense. I think I actually went bishop g5, and I wanted to provoke a weakness. He did end up playing h6, and then at the time, this pawn wasn't on e4, so let's just imagine that, or e2, let's just imagine his pawn's on e4, because I'm an e4 player, but I backed the bishop up to e3. But I could have originally already win here. I just wanted to create a weakness, which I did, and it actually helped me win the game later on. So let's see what happens actually in the game after we have knight h5, bishop to e5 and f6. It creates a weakness, especially if black's going to castle to this side of the board, which could be suicide. Let's see what happens. Bishop to g3, knight takes, opening h file already. Then we have c6, defending the center, e3, and you usually, I mean, this is just classic way of playing chess, just fundamentals. If you trade a bishop, you put the pawns on the opposite color or the same color of the bishop you traded. So we traded the dark square bishop, so we're going to put our pawns on the dark squares to make our light square bishop a monster. After bishop g7, bishop d3, my kind of chess here, I'm aiming. So just in case you think you want to castle kingside, I got something for you, big fella. Don't block with your face. Bishop d3, it says if c takes d5, c takes d5, bishop d3, f5, and then g4 is what Max Euwe said. Ooh, and that's nice. And then if we have takes here, we probably have rook takes h7. And then rook takes and bishop takes g6. Whoo, boy, coming in there, swinging, breaking open that side of the board. That's my kind of chess there, big fella. Don't do it to him. Bishop g7, bishop d3, and then castles. He has lost his absolute. Alekhine has castled. 2 question marks on this move from the 14th game here in the World Championship match. Alekhine didn't care about him, is what he said. Like, I don't care. I'm castling right into it. And what it says is, but this is indeed a blunder, directly into mate. How could you do such a thing? Wow. Now, what would you do in this position, guys? Pause the video. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? White to move, big fella. What are you doing? Here it is. He grabbed the piece, and he stared at him and hit him with this move right here. Rook takes h7. Whoa. And then he's like the Matrix, right? Dodging a bullet. Dodging a... That's crazy. Rook takes h7. Hit that man. Just as in simultaneous display. Regarding this, Tartakower joked that the 2 players were evidently in a hurry to return to Amsterdam, where a football match between Holland and Denmark was taking place that evening. So, so what is he? Is he saying that Alekhine didn't want to play and he just castled and went off the deep end? I mean, I don't know what he's saying here, but Rook takes h7. is basically lights out, guys. If I get, which I did, I actually had a similar position. Not, yeah, it was pretty similar. It was a perk. It was or Pierce defense. Yeah, rook takes h7. I actually have that game. It might be in the perk playlist, guys. Check that out. But I did sack on h7 with something similar to what we'll see here. And of course, if king takes, let's see what happens. Queen h5, king g8, bishop takes g6. Just start a new one. This is already over. Yeah, rook e8 doesn't work. I think you just take the rook because there's no mate. You don't have a bishop to come to h6, so I'm assuming you just take the rook. Let's turn on the engine here. And yeah, it's just taking the rook. Bishop takes e8. And they also have what? Oh yeah, bishop takes e8. Yeah, best move. Correct, because you got to get out of the mates somehow. So now f5 is what he played now to block this monster bishop off. And now what would I do without looking at the move? Well, the rook needs to move, so probably just go back to civilization, maybe rook h1. That's exactly what he did, rook h1, and then e5. That's a, man, look at this pawn structure though. Whew. That's kind of scary, but we need to break this up. So probably take on both. Take on d5 and e5. Let's see what he did. He took on e5 first, bishop takes, and then played knight f3. Yeah, develop with tempo, like why not? Hit the bishop as well. Bishop takes c3, which they put as a dubious move basically here with question mark. And b takes c3 here. Yeah, I'm loving white's position. This bishop is absolutely atrocious being on. Remember, guys, if we trade a bishop, you want to put the pawns on the opposite, on the same color of the bishop you traded. This one is, man, I mean, look at all the pawns here on the light squares. Yikes. Scary. And this is a big target for white to be able to attack all these pawns later on. Queen f6 attacking c3, and then c takes d5. Exclam doesn't care about the c3 pawn. He does take it. Call him on his bluff here. King f1, queen f6, and then rook c1. So just playing active. These guys haven't developed yet for black. White, I mean, this is a dynamic position. I think white's got to be crushing, but like, how much though? Let's see. +3. Yeah, so it's just absolutely winning in all areas. Correct, especially with this pawn hanging and the development is not there for black. Rook to c1, c takes d5, and then rook to c7. Ouch! Who says that? My system, right? Aaron Nimzovich says that all the time. Nimzovich. Don't give up the 7th rank if you read my system. Don't give up the 7th rank. I remember even playing, you know, being down 2-3 pawns sometimes. And have no business being down 2-3 pawns. Sometimes it depends if you're sacrificing it for something, but being down 2-3 pawns, but because I got the 7th rank, hey, you cause problems, you get some pieces back, you win some material, you may even checkmate. Rook to c7, knight to d7, blocking him off right now, and then bishop b5. Just keep the threats up, hitting here. Queen b6. Queen b6. Maybe rook takes d7. So you play queen d6 instead to defend and attack at the same time. If knight to b6, rook h to h7, ouch, and have a nice day. That could be out very soon. Queen to d6, and now we have a nice move. Rook c4. Wow. But they didn't like this too much. The sacrifice of the other rook would have been immediately decisive after queen to d4. So let's see that. Oh, hitting, is that mate? What if you take the rook? Rook check or queen check? Wow, yeah, we got to see this. Queen takes c7. And then it says rook h8, king f7, knight g5, king e7, rook h7, king e8, queen takes d5. Whew, man, strong stuff here. It's not even mate. He took a pawn. That's not even mate yet. It's going to be, though. I mean, look at the position here, guys. The 7th rank is completely taken over here. This rook is out of the game, so you're actually really not down any material. This bishop's only defending. And I mean, this is absolutely gross. This has to be like +10. Look at that, +11. Yeah, +11, +12. Getting crushed. Yeah, you can't do that. Man, that would have been nasty. Rook to c4 was the other move. Yeah, I'm surprised he kind of missed queen d4, guys, because queen d4 would be a move that we would all make. I mean, well, maybe he didn't see the finish, which is tough. If you don't see the finish line there, sometimes you just go with it, like Tao says. Tao's like, yeah, I didn't see all the complications. I just know it's going to be hard for him to defend. And sometimes it's funny to even see that when Tao even says stuff like that. Like Tao's like, yeah, I sacked it. I didn't know if it was correct. It just felt right. And that's crazy to even to say, but you know, that comes with intuition and that comes with experience and a lot of games, lots and lots of games. Queen d6, rook to c4. I don't like this move really though. I think he's just trying to go rook h4. All right, so let's see what happened. Knight f6, and there he is. Rook c to h4, queen c5, and then bishop a4. Get out of the way. Yeah, so I mean, we're still winning, but it's just going to take a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. Queen to c3, and knight to g5. Threatening mate? Not mate? Or mate? Ooh, a lot going on here. Knight g5 is just annoying, I guess. King g7, knight h7. I have to give me something. Something's got to go. Rook d8, snap, snap. He took with the, oh yeah. Taking with the king, with the queen would be disastrous. King takes, rook h7. Man, king in the middle of the street here, but we have no checks yet. And then he finally develops. So honestly, I mean, what's the eval here? Yeah, it went down a lot, +3. +3, I figured, because like, this is not over yet. Alekhine is fighting for his absolute life here. He's fighting, guys. Wow, rook 1 to h6. Bam. Hitting the g6 pawn, maybe queen h5 is in the future, maybe. And then you could block the back rank checks with bishop to d1. That could be cool. That could be cool. If rook takes b7, it would have been d4 with counterplay, so we don't want to give our opponent counterplay. And then we have bishop f7, king g1, rook g8. And then after that, it says g4. And did he resign here? Was that it? That's it. g4. Okay, so why is this like over? It's only +2. Rook g7 is the best move. Let's actually see what the note says. And white, albeit not without some anxiety, went on to win. So they don't have the rest of the game here. But it does says he went on to win. Alekhine never again employed the Grunfeld defense against you. He stopped him from playing. Hey, bro, you're not playing this Grunfeld no more. No Grun nothing. No more. And apparently he beat him another game before this, actually, in the same opening. To the astonishment of the chess world, the scores were now equal 7-7. Crazy. Alekhine was terribly worn out by the endless traveling from town to town, far more so than his young and physically well-prepared opponent. Yeah, Maxi was very young. But the main thing, according to you, was that in this part of the match, the champion was not quite himself. He never seriously thought that he could lose the match. But here the opening weapon was knocked out of his hand and he proved vulnerable. Alekhine was in a nervous state, faced with threat of losing his title. He lost his former self-confidence. Crazy! And Magnus talks about that too. Magnus talks about confidence, which is huge. You don't have the confidence, you can lose many times. That's crazy. I mean, and it kind of shows there, like, I mean, castles? He castled right into mate. Now, of course, he was playing probably fast, but too, he castled right into mate there, and he felt the pressure. It says here, the next 5 games, Alekhine scored 2 wins, one of them with black, which had a considerable psychological effect, since both players won mainly with white. With 3 draws, and before the 20th game, he was leading 10.5, 8.5. To retain his title, he needed to gain 4.5 points from 11, a task that seemed easily achievable. In order to change the course of the match, the challenger was desperate for a win, and Yu again showed himself to a splendid fighter. Oh, okay, let's check this out real quick. We're just going to check this one out real fast. We'll run through it. White played d4, d5, c4, c6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, snap, and a4. We see this all the time. Let's turn the engine off. Bishop f5. In the 19th game, Yu chose this especially prepared but dubious variation e6. But here, in this game, was knight e5. I like knight e5. Knight b to d. Knight takes c4. Yeah, this is equal. I mean, he's developed. Black's developing pieces. White's developed. We're going to follow up with probably like bishop g5, even g3, bishop g2, and e4, or even swinging a knight around e3. You have a lot of ideas here. This knight's very flexible on c4. Queen to c7. He did go with g3. Correct. You want to put the bishop on g2, play e4, and like have a big center. Nice opening. e5. Yeah, you got to hit the center. I believe in this move a lot because it's hitting the center directly, and you want white to not have 2 pawns very strong in the center. So he eliminates that now while also opening up his bishop. e5, d takes, knight takes, bishop f4, putting the pressure on him. Knight f to d and bishop g2, and then f6, correcting the mistake of the opening game, which was bishop to e6, which happened before in the opening game, what they said. Rook d8, most energetic, as already mentioned, is g5. Oh, okay, rook d8 is nice, but they're saying g5 is better. Interesting. Castles, rook d8. Okay, and then we'll move on to the next move. Queen to c1. That's an interesting move. Let's go back real quick. I just want to see. What else could we do? Queen b3, I don't like it. Queen e1, queen c1, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Queen c1. You got to get out the way, right? And here's what it says. Here's one sees the difference between the two lines of play. Black's bishop has not yet retreated to e6, which is right here. So if you go queen b3, you would get pinned. Hence, white cannot play his queen to c2 and must content himself with somewhat inferior posts on c1. Correct. Very likely it was this consideration that induced Alekhine to adopt the same defense against which he had achieved so very handsome a victory with the white pieces in the first game of the match, says Max U. Queen b8, question mark, loss of time. Serious loss of time. And even bishop e7 was bad too. So what do you play? They're like, man, all his moves are bad. So like, what should he play? Bishop e6 was correct. Moving the bishop back, making it just a better piece, putting a threat on the board. Yeah, I tell my students this all the time. Try to make as many threats as possible. Bishop e6. And then we play knight to e4. Getting out of the way. I like it. I like knight e4. Knight d6, maybe rook d1. Queen c3, queen e3 eventually. This knight will be hanging. If we go queen e3, so we have to do... Oh, the bishop. Yeah, but queen e3 is not right just yet. What about, like, let's just watch this. This would be cool. Something random. And then here, and then takes, and then mate. Ooh, double check. Hit that man with the move. Boy, that'd be funny. Bishop, but that didn't happen. But bishop to e7. Queen c3 he went for. Because queen e3 doesn't work anymore. Bishop's blocking. Castles, rook a to d1. And then bishop to e6. Rather late in the day, white now sees the advantage with a little combo. Hitting that man with a move after knight takes e5. Knight takes c5. All right, let's see. Before I look at the next move, how do we hit him with a real combo here? Knight c5. Well, we got to look for all our threatening moves. Knight d6, rook takes, bishop takes c5. What did he do? I don't know. Knight g5. Oh, man. Nobody saw that one coming. Raise your hand if you saw that one. Knight to g5. That's strong. That's really strong. Where does the bishop go? Weird enough, well, bishop a2 gets locked in with b3. Yeah, that bishop might be mine, bro. And knight f3, I can't go because he takes with check. Let's see what happens. Disclosing the disharmony in the placing of the black pieces. This secures white the two bishops, no matter how his opponent plays. Incidentally, it should be noted that black must not permit the exchange of his extremely important queen's bishop. The value of his piece derives the fact that the light squares have been weakened. Man, that's beautiful understanding of chess there. Correct. You get this bishop, and then yours becomes a monster, and there are some weaknesses on the light squares, especially after the f6 pawn has been pushed. After takes g5, it says bishop f7 was essential, but Alekhine once again avoids the passive defense, which he would have had to conduct after knight takes, rook takes, bishop h3, and then back up, and hopes to solve his problems with help of tactical tricks. That sucks sometimes to be in that situation. F takes g5, bishop takes e5, taking the knight, and then bishop f6. Ooh, man, equal a stronger threat. Just because I'm threatened doesn't mean I have to move it. You look for moves that are counter-affecting or counter-attacks, you know. So that's a nice counter-attack. Bishop f6, we take the queen, he takes mine. I could take on a7, but he'll take on b2, and kind of weird. But he plays bishop d6, rook f7, b takes c3. Did he just lose a piece? No, he could play rook d7. Dang. Oh, sweet. Counterplay. So maybe rook b1 then. The point of counter, but you is prepared. Correct. Yeah, rook b1. If you're going to get your piece back, I'm going to get something for it too. Absolutely. Takes, and then takes. And then rook a to d7. Objectively, the endgame is lost for black. Yes, I can see that due to the weaknesses here. We got the file. We're first to the file. Things can happen. Maybe rook b1 would be a blunder. Oh, no, it wouldn't be a blunder. It'd be close. Man, it might be a blunder. If you go rook b1 here, like, that's over. And I'll just show you guys. Rook b1 takes. That's forcing. You got to take it back. Check. And then, hey, just have a nice day. You know, like, let's just start a new one. This would be easy for both of us. Just start a new one. Rook takes d7 is actually what happened. And then bishop takes d7 and then bishop e4. In my view, rook b1 was more natural, is what it says. Rook b1. Bishop e4, I like this. I like bishop e4. Putting the bishop on d3 maybe, just closing the file up. And protecting the e file. Protecting the e2 pawn. c5 was moved, but it says rook d2 and then bishop d3. And then rook a2 fails to... Ooh, yikes. Bishop c4. Start a new one. Whoa. Hold up. Okay, so c5 and then c4 by white, putting the bishop on d5 with check. White gives up his defending his weak pawn and plays for domination. Okay, and go to the next one. Bishop takes a4. I just played rook a1, right? a1. Nerves. Such pawn grabbing is altogether atypical of Alekhine, but in this given instance, he missed White's 30th move. Okay, of course, he should have activated his rook, is what it says. Bishop d5, king f8, rook a1, rook a6. Yeah, but what do we do about this? F4 or E4? What does he do? Let's see. F4, E4, rook A2. That one I did not. And they put like a exclam, double exclam. Like it's like, rook A2, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, I see it though. Man, that's strong. I see it. Because the rook is pinned. Now the question is, how do we exploit this pin? That's going to be extremely hard to do, I think, to exploit the pin. But the thing is, he can't actually move the bishop to b5 like he wanted to defend this rook, because you can take it because the bishop's here defending the rook. Interesting, guys. Rook a2. Yeah, it's not possible. Then it says king e7, and then f4. G takes f4. G takes king f6. White's doing great. We have a pass pawn. Pass pawns must be pushed, and he does push it. E4, G5. Maybe he's going to break those up. He's going to break those up. This is why he was the world champion. Okay, so this is really good. G5, F5. Nice. 2 pass pawns are better than 1, especially since the attempt to blockade them proves illusory. I usually never say that word, just so you know. Illusory. Okay. I hope I'm saying that correctly. However, according to you, E5 check would have won as well. And then H5, H4. G takes H4, King H2. King G5, King H3, Rook A5. And then Bishop B7. Lock him in. Where's your rook going? Oh, that's what I thought. This is like resignable here. I mean, what's the eval? This got to be over. It's +4. You can't move nothing. King F6, Bishop D5. Why would he do that? I would just take the pawn. I don't understand that one. That's kind of weird, huh? Bishop D5, King G5, Bishop B7. Repeating moves before the time control. And then King F6 and then Bishop CA. 1-0. The sealed move, which you did not even keep secret, the same even being resigned after King G5, E5. Ooh, yikes. And if King E5, King takes H4, King takes F6. Yikes. Oh, could be a. Okay, this took place. A lot of reading there. Okay. All right, guys, we looked at 2 games today with Max Euwe versus Alekhine, guys. Max Euwe was the 5th world champion. He went on to win this match to become the 5th world champion, beating the attacking genius, Alexander Alekhine, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the world champion of today, Max Euwe. He's very underrated, guys. A lot of people don't even talk about Max Euwe. They never talk about Max Euwe, but he is the 5th world champion. He's bona fide by nature and beating the one of the greatest, Alexander Alekhine, guys. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, put some likes and comments under the video. Share the video. Check out the playlist of the other world champions. We're covering every single one. Then we don't come back and look at some other games we haven't checked out. Check out some other things and some facts about these world champions, guys. And some other stuff is on the way, guys. So thank you so much for watching the video today, and I will see you guys on the next video.